You're listening to Drop It Like It's Pop.
Drop it like it's pop. I'm Georgie Statius.
And I'm Vicken Karkukli. This is where two lovers of pop culture come together, unfiltered and unedited, to analyze the biggest stories, moments, and yes, controversies the world of pop has to offer, from our very special point of view as media professionals and international event experts.
I'm the PR specialist.
And I'm the journalist.
Join us as we agree to disagree and talk pop till we drop. Recordings in progress.
It's happening.
We are here. We were just, welcome to everyone to this very special edition of Drop It Like It's Pop, because it would be remiss of us to not address the biggest thing in show business at the moment, which is our good friend Taylor Swift. I nearly said Taylor Smith.
Well, one journalist did that for a whole interview.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, a few years ago.
And I'm Georgie, you're Vicken.
Yes, I am, and I'm in France.
You are in France. I'm in Melbourne, Australia. We were just pushing record, going to discuss how we're going to run this. And then we just thought, no, let's just wing it.
Let's keep it organic.
And we're nearly a week and a half into life after the life of a showgirl. And
does it feel like 7 years to you? This has been so intense. It feels like the album was released a gazillion years ago.
Look, actually, I saw a really good Instagram post, and I'll read it out because I feel seen with this Instagram post. But the person called themselves a mid-level Swiftie. I think I would be a mid-level Swiftie. I don't understand. I don't know enough to find every Easter egg. I don't know every album off by heart, but I am a big fan. But even I'm exhausted. And to be honest, I can't get excited about the news of the 6-part doco series of the Eras Tour because I haven't. Just let me listen to the album. I can't do any more. If another countdown pops up on her website or something else, I'm done.
Well, I think it's reasonable to be a little exhausted 37 formats into the release of the album, right? 37 different iterations of one record.
Well, yes. And we'll talk about that. But I was thinking we could split this episode, The Life of a Showgirl, the life of the fans of the Showgirl, maybe we should be calling this episode.
That's right.
I think we can kind of split it, do you think, into three segments. So Taylor, the musician, Taylor, the merchandise and marketing maestro, and then the way the world sees Taylor. Because I want to chat to you about the reactions to the album, both good and bad, and the standards that Taylor is held up to that I don't think other musicians have been. But maybe, that's what happens is when you get bigger, the bar gets higher.
And to anyone who's tuning in today who happens to have stumbled across our podcast, Drop It Like It's Pop, let's remind everyone that our first ever episode last season was also an episode that was dedicated to Taylor Swift because it was about the time of the release of the Tortured Poets Department.
Yes, she was full on into the Eras Tour, which you got to go to. I didn't get to go to, and we shall never speak of it again.
And I am fine with that.
But you're right, we call it tailor-made, and you made an excellent playlist, which you don't know this, but that's my happy playlist at work when I need to, when I've got, hang on, I have just made a podcast error in that I just took my jacket off and it had my microphone on.
Well, I can hear you much better now.
Okay, is that better?
So much better. I think the sound will have been muffled for a couple of minutes there.
Oh, there we go. So, gee, that's an error. I should be an accomplished podcaster by now. So
you are.
In case we missed the start, so we're going to talk about Taylor in 3 parts: the musician, the merchandise and marketing and media maestro, and then the way the world sees Taylor. And you're right, the first episode we did, so you can go back to season one, episode one was called Taylor Made. And you made a good playlist, which I very much enjoyed listening to, called Taylor Made, which you can find if you head to our Instagram account and click on the link. You will find our playlist there, available on Deezer and Spotify.
That's right. I feel a few new songs coming. I mean,
Ooh,
they would be a good fit for the playlist for sure.
they would, yes. So let's get into it. Uh, I will be very transparent. I went to a live listening party on the day the album came out in Melbourne at the Astor Theatre, where we basically, so the album dropped at 2 p.m. Australian time, and we listened to it pretty much live because I think they were very conscious not that we couldn't get on Spotify and start listening to it or looking at lyrics in the audience. And I actually saw the girl in front of me had it playing on Spotify so she could see the lyrics as it was playing. They didn't talk too much between songs, so we were pretty much listening to it in real time. Uh, and I've got to look, I will be very honest. I absolutely love this album and I am completely addicted to it. She has got an earworm. She has got into my psyche. I have a friend that's had to take 2 days break from it because she was just too addicted. Um,
Right.
and so I really enjoyed the listening party, which I went to partly because I wanted to listen to it live, but also because I actually just wanted to experience and see the way the listening party worked. And you know what? It was really good fun. And I think that is something that I don't, well, I think other artists perhaps wouldn't have the success of a listening party. Not that the listening party was organised by Taylor, but I do think she's created such a community that you can do this, you know. And we talk, you know, people are listening to the lyrics, and that's something I want to talk about, the focus on the lyrics. But just
Right.
from, there were people, the podcasters who were running it, because it was for a Taylor Swift podcast, you know, they weren't, I think they ranked it about fourth or fifth in their order of Taylor albums they love. I would be very interested to know where they rank it now after more
Right.
listens. But I was, and my friends, there were six of us there, and all of us bar one, well, actually, one could be a millennial. The rest of us were Gen X, and then there was a Gen Z there. We were on board straight away. And in fact,
Hmm.
one of my pals listened to it, I think, 9 times the next day while she was
Nice.
working. So it was an album that from the get-go, I went, oh, this is fun. Uh, so I'm going to preface this episode by saying I have fully bought in to the life of a showgirl.
I immediately went to our WhatsApp conversations when I listened to the record for the first time, and I uh, definitely it worked for me as well. This is the first time where I was excited about Taylor Swift releasing new music. I joined the Tortured Poets Department phenomenon later on at a time
Yes.
when I actually had the bandwidth to listen to the music. So quite a few months after it was released, and it did wonders for me, that record, because it was more introspective, and that was the kind of stuff that I was looking for at that point. When I listened to the Life of a Showgirl for the first time, what I thought to myself was, this is infectious. This is very efficient, and at the same time, it felt to me, being lower mid-level fan of the music, that she was doing things with her voice that I hadn't heard her do before. In the choruses, and playing around with the choruses, and some of the melodies.
Mm.
And so there are definitely a couple of things that I enjoyed about the record the most. I went to buy the CD. I'm old fashioned that way. I mean, I am on all those Deezers and streaming platforms, but I do like a CD that you put on repeat and you just let it kind of make its way into your brain. This one did it really fast, I have to say. And I have to say, the Fate of Ophelia for me is probably my favorite opening single for any album of Taylor
Mm,
Swift's so far. It
yes,
is so incredibly efficient, that song. And so the listening party that you're talking about is not the actual official launch in the movie theaters that
that's right.
happened on the
Exactly.
weekend of the release, and we both went to
We
that as
did,
well.
yes.
Not together.
Not together. No, that would have, I couldn't hologram you in. Uh, so there's just a few things I want to pick up on what you were saying. I remember because you were listening to it while we were in the listening party, and you sent me a
Right.
message and you said, "Damn, it's good." And I showed it
Yeah.
to my friend when he's on board because,
Hmm.
and I think it's really interesting you came on with the Tortured Poets department, which I always call the Dead Poets Society. Oh.
Me too.
Uh, because I think that with Taylor, I find that there's this allegiance. People come on to become a Swiftie or a fan of Taylor with different albums because each of her albums is very different. And
Mm.
I don't hear someone say, I'm a fan of Lady Gaga. I got hooked on this album or this album, or, I love, I don't know, Metallica, and this was the album that
Mm.
got me in. I mean, obviously that happens, but it seems far more a thing with Taylor. You're one of the few that I know that came on with the Tortured Poets.
Yeah.
I think I'm a bit of an anomaly. I don't think I came on with a certain album. I think I came on with certain performances. And
Right.
so and I remember one of her tours she did out here where I had quite a few friends took their daughters, and their daughters were probably like 13, 14, around, or, maybe between 10 and 15, let's say. And I remember my friends going, my gosh, it was good. And she gives everything to her fans. So I was like, oh, I mean, I obviously knew of her before then. But
Hmm.
so then I kind of came on with that. And then I've really got hooked by watching some of her live performances on YouTube. So I don't have
Right.
allegiance to a certain album. But with the
Hmm.
Swifties, there seems to be a real, almost visceral reaction to I'm a folklore person, or I'm Evermore, or,
Right.
I came on with Midnights. Like there's a
Hmm.
real allegiance to certain
Yeah.
albums. And what I found was interesting, and obviously looking on social media and my algorithms is showing me what I want to see. But, there's all this talk, well, if you liked these albums, you wouldn't be a Life of a Showgirl fan. Which,
Yeah.
which I'm not, I'm neither here nor there, but I just find that really interesting because she's
Hmm.
the same artist, and there's been a lot of commentary around, they don't, well, there's a couple of things, and you were talking about her voice. I've been watching a lot of musician reactions to it, which I really enjoy watching because I think the Swifties, and I include myself in this, can get really hung up on the lyrics. And that's because our good friend Taylor Swift has kind of set this expectation with the Easter eggs, and, she's opened her life to us through her lyrics. So there's such a focus on the lyrics. But I
Right.
really have enjoyed watching the clips focusing on the music and the production of Shell someone, and Max Martin, because then you start to appreciate the chords and the layering and the sort of, there's a real feeling of deluxe and luxury in the
Yeah.
layering of this production. So
Which has to do, yeah. And we've spoken about this in terms of production when we mentioned, for example, Rick Rubin, who produced
yes,
Taking the Long Way for the Dixie
yes,
Chicks, and Music for Men for Gossip. And then you can actually feel the identity of the
yes,
production from one record to the next when they're different artists.
that's right, exactly. And obviously this is a new era for Taylor because she's happy. Like I read something
Right?
today saying this is the only album where she's not searching for something or
Well,
striving for something.
what is most interesting is that she's the same frame of mind at the time of the release of the album that she was when she wrote it and recorded it. Because she was
Yes.
saying about the Torture Poets department that she was happy when it came out, but she wasn't when she wrote and recorded it. So
Uh,
I think.
Yes, and that's really interesting because she said this was a faster release. I mean,
Hmm.
the fact that, yeah, we'll come back to just her work ethic, but she
Yeah,
said this was a faster release. So it mean yes, she's kind of living these feelings in real time.
right.
And there has been backlash against it from the Swift, not backlash. There's been Swifties who haven't accepted this album as much as other Swifties. And I do wonder, are people struggling with the fact that she's not playing the role for them that she had always played of looking for love, unlucky in love, a bit tormented, this kind of thing, which is maybe what people are going through in their own lives.
Maybe.
And it happens. People, friends play a role in your life. And if you change, and I've certainly had this, friends don't get on board, and I've, lost friends during my happiest moments because I wasn't
Hmm.
playing the role that I had beforehand and they couldn't, they struggled with that for whatever reason. So it's been interesting to look at the sort of reaction, and I'm not talking about the outsiders, I'm talking within the Swifties. Are they finding it hard to see a woman happy and just having fun? And does she always have to do incredibly deep, you know, um, sort of songs?
Introspective,
Yeah,
tormented.
that's right.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many Swifties out there that it would be kind of hard to pinpoint kind of a
Yes.
general consensus between all the fans, particularly considering the wide array of reactions that the album has created. I just want to go back to a couple of things that you said that, you know what, you were saying for other artists, the moments that you get on board don't
Mm.
seem to matter so much as they do for Taylor. But, I went to Kylie Minogue's concert a few months ago in Lyon, and I was talking to people obviously who we've known Kylie since the first
Yes.
album. So we've been there every step of the way. We've liked some of
Yes.
it, we've liked some of it less, but we were there when she burst onto the
Mm.
scene.
Mm.
And then I was talking to people who were, quite a few years younger, and they were sharing. I mean, obviously, Can't Get You Out of My Head was kind of the pinnacle for Kylie in terms of resurrection. But I was just chatting with a friend and he was like, no, for me, the album that did it was X and the song Two Hearts. Like it was my
Mm.
teenage angst kind of
Yes.
song, of coming to terms with being gay and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
and it was very interesting to have those um and you know what? Interestingly, liking Taylor Swift now, I don't think I'm not revisiting her earlier catalog. I'm
Mm.
intrigued by some of the records. I do get a couple of songs on The Life of a Showgirl have a Reputation vibe, so I'm interested in
Yes.
that record. But it's
Yes.
not like I'm gonna go back to her debut album and
No.
Fearless and Speak Now. You know what I mean? And a
Yes.
couple more things that I wanted to say. Um, I mean, then same for Lady Gaga for me. I didn't like Lady Gaga when she first came out. It took me a
Mm.
while to actually start liking Lady Gaga. And then bearing in mind that, yes, Taylor is absolutely, dedicated to her fandom. There's still other artists who are. I mean, I saw Dua
Oh,
Lipa, I
of
saw Kylie
course.
Minogue live in concert this year. They both gave 1,000% on
Yes.
stage. And, everyone was definitely on board with that. The difference for me when it comes to, all those listening parties, and I know you also go into them as an observer of the
Yes.
trends and to see what's going on in the culture. For me, fandom and music and culture has always been a bit of an intimate experience. I've
Yes.
never really enjoyed being discovering this new music with the group. It needs to be me and the culture in an intimate setting, So I'll buy the record, I'll play it for myself, and I let it kind of come to me, and I'll analyze my own reactions. And so I went to the screening of the movie event that was put together over the weekend. I think it was just in 18 countries. So not all
Ah.
countries actually got to see that event. And I went in there. I had my little Kylie Minogue concert sweater hoodie on. And it was cold in the theater, so I put I had my head was covered, and I was just in there, super low key, just me and the screen, kind of having my experience. And I know that people were cheering for some of the songs when some of the dancers came onto the screen,
Mm,
obviously from because the dancers have been part of the extended Taylor universe. So that's it was interesting to witness that. For me, definitely, it was the first time for a Taylor Swift. For that a Taylor Swift intimate
yes.
event.
Yes, and we should describe for those for people who didn't go to the launch party. So I went to a listening party where we basically listened into it, sat in a cinema, and they played the album, I guess, through Spotify on the speakers, and we listened to the songs. This was the movie that Taylor put together that was for 2 days. It was a weekend only. I think it was actually
Hmm.
3 days in Australia. Um, it started off, and I'll talk a little bit about this when we get to the media and marketing, but it started with her talking to the camera, welcoming you into the cinema. Um, it felt very intimate.
Yeah,
It felt like, I
not
mean, how
overproduced at all.
not overproduced, and she started to talk about the fate of Ophelia and the film clip and then you saw the behind the scenes, which I found really fascinating, how they shot it. I mean, the production on that film clip, I mean, just, and I remember messaging you when I came out saying, I think you should go, if nothing else, just to see that film clip on the big screen.
Yes.
Then she introduced each song and gave a little bit about behind the scenes. Once again, it was just her sitting in a director's chair. Then they played that song with the lyrics showing, which I found it really interesting, sitting there reading the lyrics as the song was playing. And I turned to my friend and I said, oh, I think this song's now my favorite because I was paying more attention to the lyrics. So,
Yes.
and in our cinema, it was a Sunday afternoon. We had kids. We only two people got up and danced. I would have been very happy either way, but it felt like people were just very happy to sit and just absorb. And I've seen Taylor say that, in the past, she used to have these parties where she'd invite fans to her house and she'd sort of launch the record and talk about sort of the meaning behind the songs and where they came from. Now, I'm sure we could do a whole podcast episode on how much she publicly says about the song and then how much is really behind the song.
Of
Um,
course.
and so this is kind of an extension of that. And, we'll talk about fandom in a bit. But I really enjoyed it. And I think it gave me another appreciation of the album. And one thing with this album, and I felt it watching it, and my friend turned to me and she said, I feel like I've been at a concert. I said, oh, me too. This is the only album I do not put on shuffle. Every time I listen to
Oh,
this album, I have to
right.
listen to it in the order. And I think the order they've done it is, and I know there's a lot of science behind how they set the orders of songs on albums, but finishing with The Life of a Showgirl always feels like an encore song to me. And it reminds me of Thank You for the Music by ABBA. And there's been a lot of
Hmm.
chatter about the Swedish sound, naturally, because she's got two Swedish producers working on it. But I find I just cannot listen to this album in a random order. And it's only 12 songs, it's only 40 minutes or so, so it's a very short album for
True.
Taylor standards.
Yes.
Um, but it's weird. I have to listen to it in the order of the album.
I agree with you 100%, but I am a firm believer in the concept of an album. And I feel that what streaming has done in the past few
Mm,
years is that it has really messed up, because it has really messed up with the concept of the album, because when artists put together a record, the sequence of the songs, the sequencing of the different tracks is part of the narrative of the record.
yes.
100%. So, which is why I don't particularly like re-releases where they kind of
Mm,
reshuffle the songs, because your ear gets used to the sequence and to whatever song is coming afterwards. I mean, so I'm still a firm, and that's very old school to say, but I'm still a firm believer in the way in which artists put together songs. You know, the first single off an album. Sometimes it'll be the first song on the album, sometimes it
Yes,
won't be. And
exactly.
it means something to the artist when they choose a different song to open a
Yes.
record with. So I agree with you. And I haven't put it on shuffle either. But it's
Mm,
for me always the case. Mostly I'll listen to
yes.
a record as it's meant to be listened to.
Yep. And as we're talking, I realize we're making an assumption that people listening to this will have listened to the album. They may not have. So it's, how would you describe Life of a Showgirl?
How would I describe it? Look, for me, it's very easy listening pop. It's very catchy. It's a lot of fun, I have to say, for the most part. Lyrically, if you go into the lyrics and dissect and look for hidden meanings, obviously it's Taylor Swift. So there's so many different layers to the different songs that she's come up with. And she was being cheeky in some of the descriptions that she gave during the
Yes.
movie event of, for example, for the song Wood or a couple
Yes.
others, she would kind of not wink at the camera, but almost, because there
Hmm.
was a different layer that she wasn't really disclosing. So, but it's always the case with her. I think it's very in keeping with the tradition of Max Martin and Shellback, the music that they've done
Hmm.
in the past few years. If you go back, those guys have been around. I mean, particularly Max Martin, he's been around for a long time. That would be a great playlist, actually, to go back to the biggest hits from, Celine Dion's That's the Way It Is, to so many others. I mean, there's been so many hits that Max Martin has produced. So,
Yes.
um, and then 40 minutes, it's short. If you
It's
think
short.
about the Tortured Poets Department, I would kind of tune out when I first started listening to the Poet Depart, the anthology, all 31 songs. There'd be a point where I tune out. You don't tune out of this one. You don't tune
No.
out.
And that kind of almost takes us back to, oops, uh, the kind of 80s. I think there is an 80s feel. So I want to read out this Instagram post. I saw a really fun comment because I actually love, I mean, my algorithms is sending me lots of things. And as I said, obviously it's all skewed to what I want to watch. But particularly in these musician reactions to the album, and I'm getting a lot of clips of drummers doing the drum parts. Because if
Hmm.
you, and one, these two guys I've got onto in America, two musicians, one's a guitarist and one's a drummer. And it's fascinating listening to them react to the album because they talk about it from a musical point of view. So they're like, oh, listen to that bass. And suddenly I'm hearing the instruments that I hadn't heard. So I said, recommend that. But someone wrote, I feel this album was written to drive in a convertible in the 70s down
Hmm.
sort of Sunset Boulevard, kind of, there's this luxury. But I'll just read out this post by Layla McKinnon. So anyone in Australia would know Layla McKinnon is a newsreader, media personality, journalist. And this post popped up, and I would like to say I feel very seen by her post. So she says, and there's a photo of her holding the album. She says, "The life of a fangirl. As a proud member of the coolest generation of all, Gen X, and a mid-tier Swiftie, I have to say I bloody love this album. It's giving those luxurious Roxy music, everything but the girl, Spandau Ballet, new romantic, synth pop vibes, and I am so here for the early 80s again. Give me shoulder pads, oversized blazers, and too much emotion, eyeshadow and glamour. And know that at any given time I will be silently shouting, Elizabeth Taylor, to myself. That is all. Thank you for your interest in this matter." And I agree. And I'm finding that any Gen X person I know who likes Taylor or is not resisting the Taylor phenomenon for the sake of resisting the Taylor phenomenon, because there's a few of those, that even if they like the album, I don't think they could admit to it because they struggle with the hype. I find this album is resonating with Gen Xers, and I think there's a contentedness and a maturity in this album that is talking to my generation.
I think,
Even
yeah,
though I'm
because I think,
15 years older than Taylor.
yeah, no, I agree. I think there's something comforting and nostalgic at the same time, but in the
Yes.
right ways. So it takes you back to some familiar territory, but it doesn't feel like, I mean, obviously, we've seen the videos of people likening songs to songs that we've heard before. And for me, the one that immediately came to me is in Opalite when she says, "Now the sky is opalite." To me, it sounds like "Baby, You're a Firework" from Katy Perry. And so, but at the same time, I was thinking to myself, this is 2025. What are the odds of writing an original song that is not going to be reminiscent of a song that we've heard before? There's been so much music churned out left, right, and center that it's
Yes.
becoming so difficult now to come up with fully original material that is not reminiscent of anything. And there was a funny video that you shared with me of the guy going, "Taylor stole my lyrics," and it's just the word "you." So
I know.
thanks for
There's
sharing that.
yeah. God, that made me laugh. Yeah, and he's not a Swiftie, but and so you expect it's going to be this thing. There's another funny one I've seen where so he basically says, "I can't believe Taylor has stolen my lyrics," and he plays one word of her song and it's "you," and he plays his song that just happens to have "you" in, and he's like, "This is terrible." I've seen another very funny one where the guy says, "I can't believe she has stolen our song," and she plays a bit of one of the songs on the life of the Showgirl, and he goes, "Okay, now listen to how similar it is to mine," and he plays his and it's a heavy metal song and it sounds nothing like it. But you're right. Like, and I've seen lots of comments. Once again, I've got quite bias in my algorithms. But so let's talk about this though, because there's a couple of things. She has, and in the music notes, actually you might, because you've got the CD, in the music
I
notes,
do.
she does, they do acknowledge use of some other songs. So that's the
Yeah, true.
so
Can I
she
just
doesn't
say
hide away from that. Now that's different to an what do you call it? An
interpolation?
interpolation. So that is what she's done on Father Figure, where she has used the line, "I will be your father figure." So she's not sampling the song by George
Right.
Michael,
Hmm.
and she talks about that in the movie, and she talks about, we went to the family and to his estate to get approval. Because as a songwriter, I know how important lyrics are. And I just don't think, of all people and everything she's been through, that she would ever do the dirty on an artist. Um,
Right.
so there's two things. So I just want to talk about the George Michael one, because when it came out, I thought, why is no one talking about the fact that George Michael was locked in a battle with his company, with his record company, which was Sony, I think,
Right.
around the rights to his songs. And I
Hmm.
think that's around the time, was it, that he didn't want to record the video clip. Um,
For
and so,
praying for time.
yeah, so he's an artist that has been through that. So I thought, why is no one talking about the fact that she has done this, very, has gone through all the right channels, particularly for an artist who was screwed over by their record company. Anyway, of course,
Hmm.
people are talking about it, and I need to fact check this, but what they're saying is the fact that she has just lifted the lyric, his estate gets the recognition, and I guess they get some royalties. If she had lifted the song, the record company would have. So she's even
Right.
done kind of a double protection of George Michael and kind of an alignment, because he went through similar to what she went through. So there's that. Then there's all these comparisons to her music being sounding like other songs, and then people are writing, but if you read the notes in the album and in the CD, they actually recognize and acknowledge the songs, that they have lifted songs. Anyway, so
There was there was a funny comment of how fans our age needs the writing to be bigger letters, because in the notes, and I agree, it is so difficult. The letters are so small, it's not even
oh,
funny. I give up.
Yes, that would I would have to take a photo and then enlarge it on my
That's right.
phone. So there's that. And then there's people comparing, things. And look, I mean, I'm not a fan of Sam Smith as such. I think their songs all sound the same. I love Ed Sheeran, but a lot of his songs sound the same. So I
Right.
find this commentary, and we'll, get into it in more detail, is quite interesting. But then I do love how Swifties will find any stretch to go into bat for Taylor. So I was watching all these comments. There was a post around, and it basically had each song from her album and which other song it sounded like. There's one
Yes.
that sounds like the Jonas Brothers. The Jackson Five gets talked about a
Demi
lot.
Lovato.
And so then people were writing, yes, this is Taylor's kaleidoscope commentary of popular music. And I was like, oh, I think that's a stretch. I like your
Yeah.
passion, but I think you need to calm down a bit. But I just think I read another comment, which I think was perfect. They said, this is her funk era. And I think
Hmm.
there is a real funkness to this album.
Yeah. I mean, to go as far as calling it funk, I mean, the true funk fans, I guess, would disagree because
It's
there's
her
some,
funk era.
but there's
Her funk.
something funky about it. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely. I
yeah.
mean, you know what, music, I mean, Taylor Swift herself said something very interesting was like, if you're mentioning the name of my record, if you're mentioning my name the week the record is being released, then, you're doing something for it. So I
That's
think
right.
she's well aware that there's going to be so much commentary. And I think the Tortured Poets Department was already a good example because it wasn't so much the fans, it was the critics that were a
Yes.
little baffled by the record and having to listen to it overnight to write a review in the morning. So it all happened so fast that there was no preparedness in going into this record, that which was also quite different to the previous one. It was very different from Midnight's, the Tortured Poets
Yes.
Department. So
And that's it. Every album of hers has a real sound to it. Um,
yeah, we could
I,
call them eras, I think.
we should, you should put that to her. But she said, I welcome the chaos around the
Right.
commentary. What I
Yeah.
found is, and maybe this is just me taking a huge leap, but I remember Tortured Poets, people found, the immediate reviews that came out were, it's a bit messy, it's too long, it's too verbose, it could have had an editor kind of take their red pen to it, sort of thing.
It's
I,
verbal diarrhea.
yeah, all of that. It's indulgent, it's just, but I found, I don't know, I'd be interested in your take on this. And I mean, I'm basing this on a couple of reviews I saw. But Rolling Stones gave it 5 stars immediately. BBC, now I'm not saying BBC is the world's, best commentator on music, but I felt that the critics I felt this was getting strong reviews, I think because of the production and
Hmm.
the musicality of it. But some of the Swifties were taken, the younger Swifties, I'm going to generalize, but I do feel it's the younger Swifties that it's a very different sound to them, who haven't grown up with that kind of luxurious pop sound. They were
Right.
taking longer to get on board, but I felt this was hitting it with musicians and critics faster. Would you agree?
I think people should know better now than to go into Taylor Swift releasing a new album expecting anything. Because no record from Taylor Swift has been the same as the previous one, except for Evermore, which was Folklore's parent
Yes.
album. But I think people, uh, I mean, educated fans would go into this, new phase of the career expecting something new because I don't think she's repeated herself a lot in her career. So a lot of people say it's reminiscent. I mean, there was definitely an 80s vibe to 1989, but it
Oh,
was
yes.
still
Yes.
quite different to the one that, The Life of a Showgirl has.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, I've done reviews when I was a journalist, when I was still
Yes.
working as a journalist. I've done reviews. It's kind of hard to go into critiquing an album. having only listened to it a few times. I mean, I'm one of those people that needs to kind of let it sink in and kind of let it play around with your mind. So, look, but I disagree with you on what you said about the BBC. I think the BBC has done incredible things for music, and I think
Oh,
that
that's
the
good. I was more outing myself that I don't rush. So I don't know who the kind of purveyors of fine music reviews are.
yeah, no, I mean, the BBC has a long-standing kind of history with promoting music, and I mean, they've got so much music programming on. I mean, they have so many channels, but
Mm.
yeah, they have a lot of that. So look, I don't know, and I don't know who these people are that are. I've always found it interesting to have one person's opinion. And when they do rankings of the songs, what are the best songs on the album?
Mm.
Billboard does that for every major record release now. They rank all the songs on an album. Ultimately, never the ones that I like make it to the top. So,
But just I guess touching on that is we talked about in the first episode of the podcast last year around that
mhm.
immediacy of a review as well.
Yeah,
And I think, like
yeah.
you were saying, if there's one thing we've learned is to not, expect the unexpected with Taylor, because we know
Hmm.
each album's going to be different. But also, and there's lots of funny reels about this, is that you might it might take a few listens. Like I remember saying to you with Tortured Poets Department that, and this is before you had perhaps come over to the Swifty side, in the incarnation that you are in now. And I said, I think it's my favorite album. And I said,
Right. I remember that.
every time I listen to it, it just grows and grows on me. And so I think Taylor albums, well, there's two arguments, 2 points here, isn't it? I think her albums, the more you listen to them, the more you get out of them, which of course is like any artist. But
What?
then other artists we might not give the time to listen to it 4 times to get
Hmm.
hooked.
I don't know. I think, well, you were talking about an album growing on you. I have to say that on this record, there are fewer lyrics that made me cringe. There were a few of those on the Tortured Poets Department. I was like, really? I mean, I wasn't too sure about him. And when she
Yes.
gets too, the, she does think like when she mentions things that are very trivial, like you ate bars of chocolates and things like that. I'm like, do we really need to know? Like, what does it kind of bring to the conversation?
Don't you
Um,
think that that is reminiscent of your frame of mind when you are sad and when you are in a bad place? You
you
do.
remember those things?
Yes, you do focus on the little
Hmm.
detail and
Yeah.
ruminate sort of on those things. Whereas
Hmm.
this one, and I wish sometimes we could just listen. I mean, I know this is ironic saying this, seeing we're recording an episode about the album, but I do wish sometimes we could just listen to an album and have fun and not have to dissect every single thing about it. But of course,
You know,
Taylor has set that up herself because of the way
I
she
don't,
writes and the way
yeah.
she puts her Easter eggs in. So she's created this, but and one of my pals said, this album is a real bop, and I think that's the perfect way to explain it. Like it is a fun boppy album. And the other morning, I got into work at like 6 a.m. And so I'm in the city. I got off the tram. I was walking down the Burke Street Mall in Melbourne. It's empty. There's no one around. I had Opalite playing on my headphones, and I just felt like actually dancing down the mall because it put me in such a good mood, and I can't not dance when I hear that song.
Right.
Like this is a fun album, and I said to one of my friends, "Oh, this is a good road trip album too." Like I could
Hmm.
see us in the car just blaring it out. I mean, I'd find Tortured Poets a good road trip album too, but it's just a fun album. So, anyone listening who's not a Swiftie, no problem, obviously. Um, but don't let your aversion to the power of Swifties and the passion and my sister is not a Swiftie and she struggles with the obsession I sometimes have and having to hear about it. But what I would say to people is just listen to the album because it is, I think you are doing yourself a disservice of just not having fun with this album.
Can I say something? Because I can actually confirm what you said, because I'm one of those people that you'd be saying that to. And I
Yes.
agree because all of the noise and the
Yes.
Swiftiness and all the fandom and everything, I have no room for that. I am not
Yep.
here for it. I don't enjoy the over analyzing. I just enjoy the music. And I've been enjoying the music, cleaning the house and working out and all that stuff. Um, Also, interestingly, a book has just come out in France. It's called Swiftology, and it's
Uh,
by a journalist who used to be, so he owns a record store in Paris now called Lucky Records, which is named after Madonna's Lucky Star. So it's the biggest collection of Madonna collectibles in the world. And
mm,
so they have a couple of stores. They have one in Paris and one in Lyon in my hometown. And so he's just released an album, a book called Taylor Swift Behind the Words, and the title is Swiftology. I haven't read it. Am I going to read it? I don't know because uh, do I want to go behind the words? No, not
mm.
necessarily right now, but I do enjoy the music. But you know, um, I'm happy with just that's why I like the CDs and I don't go on the platforms and all that
Yes.
stuff. You know,
Yeah.
you just create your own experience. You're free to create your own experience. That's what you should
Exactly.
do. Yeah.
Exactly. It's
You know, can I just tell one
mm,
anecdote I need to tell you? Because Taylor had the biggest opening week for an international album in France this week with
mm,
Life of a Showgirl since Celine Dion's latest French album, which is called Encore un soir, and it was released, I think, almost a decade ago now. So Taylor sold like 65,000 copies. Celine had sold 250,000. That's how big Celine still is in France. And I was having dinner with a friend who's 29 years old or something. And I had to explain to him what Celine Dion meant to us
yes.
when she exploded onto the scene with her French album, Deux, back in 1995. And I explained that, and I got goosebumps because it was a matter of uh, everyone loved Celine Dion at that time. There was no divide. There were like you could have been a hardcore hard rock music fan. Everyone had that album. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yes.
there are these kind of special moments in pop culture, and it was funny to have to explain like you don't realize the power that Celine Dion had. And we've seen some of these artists, some of
Uh,
these along the way.
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's nothing that hasn't happened before. Maybe on a set, maybe. I mean, Jimmy Fallon was asking Taylor about
Yes.
um, how singular her life experience is, considering
Yes.
she's reached a level of fame and success that
Yep.
arguably no one else has in the world
Yes.
or in this generation for sure.
Yes.
So I don't know. I had to segue into that because what you told me reminded me of these very singular moments in pop culture. And for me,
Absolutely.
Celine Dion was one such moment back in the
Oh,
90s.
yes. Um, we could transition into Shania, and from this moment, you see, that would be a good segue. Uh,
Yes.
so no, absolutely. And do you know who I have found are the surprise fans of this album? Who seem
No.
the collection that have presented themselves to me via the World Wide Web and social media is Shakespeare and Renaissance experts and professors.
Oh.
And they're loving it, and they're loving the Shakespeare themes, and obviously the fate of Ophelia is the obvious one.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
and there's tiebacks to obviously love story and Romeo and Juliet. But it's very interesting watching. I mean, anyone will find an angle to get views on Instagram.
Mm. Mm.
Myself, I've delved into the world of reels with a couple of Taylor songs from this album over them because I know it's going to get a few likes. But it's very interesting listening to it from their point of view because they're like the theme she has strung through this of Shakespeare, but also of the Renaissance is. They're loving it. So I just find it really fun and interesting to hear different people's takes on it.
Hmm. I mean, what
I
I
mean,
love
anyone
for
will
me,
find a take.
Of course, everyone needs a kind of an entry point into the
Yes,
phenomenon. Absolutely. But for me, what was interesting as well is that, I mean, not a lot has been said about it. And I know that Kylie Minogue, a lot of people went right into Kylie Minogue territory when the album was announced because Kylie
yes,
Minogue is, I mean, she's not the original Showgirl, but she had a Showgirl tour in 2005 and then the Showgirl Homecoming. So Kylie Minogue has played around a lot with the concept of the showgirl.
yes,
But she's not the only one. Many have. Madonna has. Mariah Carey has. Not a lot of people know this, but if you watch
yes.
Mariah's breakdown video, there's a full-on showgirl segment in that video. I mean, if you think about the last Showgirl, the movie with Pamela Anderson,
Oh,
there's so much in pop culture that you can actually go back. I mean, that would make a beautiful coffee table book if you kind of compiled
oh,
all of those images together.
pitch it,
Can you
pitch it
imagine?
to pitch it to someone. I'm trying to think of a
Yes, I
publisher's name.
might.
But that's really interesting because, and I know we talked about the Kylie themes. I mean, I felt there was a lot of Kylie sound in this album. A lot of it,
Yeah,
I thought it
of
had some Kylie
course.
moments. But I don't think Taylor's saying I'm the only showgirl. When she says the life of a showgirl, and I mean, if you listen to the lyrics of Life of a Showgirl, I feel she's talking about this collective group of women who have
Yeah,
put themselves out there in these very public, grueling roles where you've been warned it's tough out there.
she's
So I
not claiming the concept. You know
no,
what? You could
correct.
have a really good music video for that song, compiling all of the people that I just mentioned.
Oh, oof. Yes.
Yes,
Before we move on to the next segment of her being the merchandise, media, and marketing maestro, uh, I'd like to, because there's only 12 songs on the album. Um, could you, well, we could do it two ways. We could,
yes.
I know you're not a fan of saying these are my top four songs. We could do that, or
hmm
I could read out each song and you could say where it kind of ranks high, medium, low in your love of this album.
I have an issue though with remembering the titles of the songs.
I could
I
play a
need,
little bit.
oh, could you?
I
Can
think
we? Are we
so.
allowed to play the songs?
I think we can if we just play a snippet. I don't know, actually. I don't want to be taken off the airwaves.
No,
Um,
I will know. I will know.
Actually, you could play. Yes, you
No,
could.
no, but I'll know
Well,
from the lyrics.
yes. Okay. So, well, I'm going to go in the order of the album. So, well, the fate of Ophelia we've already talked about. That would be high on your rankings, highest.
Yeah, probably my favorite at this
Yeah,
moment.
I really like it. And I feel a bit stereotyped. It's the launch song. It's the big film clip, but I actually really like the song. I think it's really fun. And I think, everyone sort of talked about, oh, this is what happens when you move away from Jack Antonoff and you start dating Travis Kelce because your lyrics go down. I don't see what the big drama is with the lyrics on this album. I think there's some terrific little lyrics on here, but
Yeah,
the music, oh, yeah. Okay, so Fate of Ophelia. Elizabeth Taylor.
I love Elizabeth Taylor.
Oh,
I
and
love
anyone,
Elizabeth Taylor, the actress.
oh,
I love Cat on a Hot Tin Roof is one of my favorite films. She's absolute. It's one of my favorite plays, and then
yeah.
obviously one of my favorite films. And I love that this record. You know what? I was listening to the album and I was like, I need like all these references. It made me want to drink a whiskey sour because she speaks about whiskey sours in Cancelled, and I want to
Yes,
wear Gucci because
yes,
she references Gucci. So, all this stuff. And I went back to my Elizabeth Taylor like books and magazines and
yes.
stuff. Yeah.
And
So definitely up there.
yeah, same. And for people who haven't heard this song, she just sort of yells Elizabeth Taylor through the song.
That's right.
So there's lots of jokes about we're all walking around the house just yelling out
It's this
Elizabeth
album's
Taylor.
Florida.
Oh, correct. Yes. And I've actually seen quite a bit of commentary on
Oh, really?
that we used to yell out Florida and now we yell out Elizabeth Taylor.
I'll take it.
I love this song. This wasn't my favorite on first listen, but boy, this is up there.
I
And
think this is when I sent you the message, damn, this is good.
yes, correct. Yes, gotcha. Okay. And I
Elizabeth Taylor.
and I think there's some fun stuff. Like she makes a mention to the Plaza Athénée in Paris
Yes.
and the phone call, and then the Plaza Athénée have done the best social media thing.
Haven't
Um,
seen it.
Oh my gosh, I've got to send it to you. Where it's just a set shot, and this gorgeous butler's trolley moves from sort of stage left into the frame with a very sort of old school luxurious phone on, and this hand just reaches in and picks up the phone in line to the lyrics saying, "You called me at the Plaza Athénée." And I thought,
Yes.
well played, Plaza Athénée in Paris.
I have to say to anyone listening who are not familiar with the Plaza Athénée, it's the hotel where Carrie stays in the last episodes of Sex and the City, the original series. The
Ah,
last two episodes, when she's with Petrovsky
yes,
in
yes.
Paris, they're staying at the Plaza Athénée. So it's
There
a
we go.
very
Uh,
famous. When she goes out on the balcony and shrieks when she sees the Eiffel
yes.
Tower,
See,
that's the
I
Plaza
love it.
Athénée.
Well,
Yeah.
I like that fun fact,
Mm-hmm.
because it's been interesting, like watching. Not everyone understands what the Plaza Athénée is. They think it's this weird
It's
term. And in fact,
no.
one of the reaction videos I was watching, they clearly don't know it's a hotel because they think it's a type of something because they're like, oh, what's that? Not understanding that it's actually a place. Okay, next one on the list is opalite.
Yeah, you know what? It's not my favorite.
Yeah.
It's not, I like it, but it's not, I mean, it's probably, yeah, I like it. It's cute and catchy, but it's not the one that kind of uh makes me want to dance the most, I have to say.
Fair enough. Well, you're in the
Hmm.
minority because it's the
Yes.
fastest non-single to surpass 100 million streams.
Yeah.
I'm looking at another headline here, hidden track, heavy impact. This song, I mean, there's lots of funny jokes around what has Taylor put in this music that's it's kind of brainwashed us because this track I cannot listen to without wanting to get up and just do a random dance.
Yeah.
And I'm almost fighting it because it is the song that everyone loves, but there's a reason it's a song that a lot of people love. But I get that it's not for you. So, okay, so we'll put that further down. Father Figure.
Oh, I love it. Father Figure by George Michael is one of my
Mm,
favorite songs of all time. It is, I mean, the song itself, Father Figure, is probably one of the sexiest songs that's
yes,
ever been written.
yes,
An absolute gem of a song. Everything about that song is iconic. The music
yep,
video is iconic. I mean, George
yes.
Michael, come on.
Oh, correct,
Um,
exactly.
Absolutely. I love the innuendos and everything you just said, everything you said about the rights and
Yes,
ownership of the music and all that stuff. It's a very multi-layered song, but I think
yes,
that although it's just referencing and not sampling the song, I think she did it justice. It was a good move.
yes. I really like it. And that one has shifted probably up my list. Eldest daughter.
Um, I like it. There are many other ballads of
Yeah,
Taylor's that I love more than this one.
yeah.
So from give me ballads from other albums, from the Tortured Poets Department. I'm a huge fan of How Did It End, for example, on the Tortured
Mm,
Poets Department.
hmm.
I really love that one. Um, yep.
Yeah,
How
okay.
about
No,
you?
do you know what I like? I'm not an eldest daughter, so I don't get the impact. But I
Neither am
actually,
I.
that's correct.
I
Actually,
have an elder sister. I need to
I
ask
was going
her.
to say we should get our elder
Well, yeah,
sisters
right. You
to
too.
listen to it. We shouldn't. They could make a guest appearance on the next podcast. But I think there's some lyrics in this that are very powerful, and in fact, sort of very not melancholy, but I mean, I've read some funny things where people say they were listening to it on the way home and then just had to run home in tears because I think this song
Because
has
it resonates.
the emotion in this song, I think hits the most out of all of these.
Hmm.
I think there's some, um, yeah, the time lapse and those lyrics. I think there is an emotion that I find very powerful. I don't. The whole song's not my favorite, but there's some bits of this song I love. Okay, ruin the friendship.
Um, I don't remember which one that is.
So that's one I like. Oh yes, this is the one that's rumored to be the Charlie. Is this the one that's rumored to be the Charlie XCX one? Let me have a look at the lyrics.
No, that's
No, it is. Is it? Gosh, look at us pretending we
and it was not an invitation. Yes.
Oh no,
Uh,
yes, I'm thinking of actually romantic. Ugh.
that's
Yeah.
right. No,
No, this is
I like this
the
one.
not
I like this
wishing.
one when you know the backstory to the
Oh,
song and how it's a collage of
correct. Yeah.
different
So this
things.
is the wishing I'd
Yes,
kissed you at school, but I didn't want to ruin the
that's right.
friendship. And then I got the call that you'd passed away. And of course,
But
Taylor.
you know what? This to me, it's probably one of the ones that would resonate with me, kind of revisiting
Yes.
high school
Yes.
experiences and
Yeah.
going back and the what ifs and why didn't I seize an opportunity when
Yes.
I could have,
Yes.
and
Yep.
yeah, so this
Yeah.
is a good one.
And actually, and so this one, ruin the friendship is sort of this whole thing of what if, you know, I wanted to kiss you when we were at school, but I didn't want to ruin the friendship. But then I got the phone call that you'd passed away and I had to fly
Mm,
home. And of course, Taylor
yeah.
famously gave a eulogy at a high school friend's funeral.
Hmm.
And she talks about Abigail, her best friend from school. And I
Yes,
saw in one of the interviews, they asked her, do you have to tell people if they're going to be
I
mentioned in the song? And she said,
that's
yes, I
right.
do. And so she said, Abigail's been used to being mentioned in quite a few of my songs. So yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. The next one is the one I was thinking of is actually romantic. That whole notion that it's actually romantic that you talk about me so much with your beef about me. Um,
Look, to me, this is a new version of Mariah Carey's Why You So Obsessed with Me.
did think about that. Yes.
I love Mariah's Obsessed because her
Yes.
lyrics are so sharp in that song. And when she starts the music video with, I was like, why you so obsessed with me? Is just, yes. So I love that it's cheeky the way in which she did it, but yeah, there's a tradition, definitely in there.
There is. And so the rumor is that this is based on Charlie XCX, who married one of the band members of oh my gosh, Matt Healy's band.
Matt Healy, yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
just had a blank.
is it the
1975.
1975?
Yes, my birth year, and that's why I stumbled
I know, right?
because I thought, am I just saying a band, thinking there's a band with my name on? So there's this whole thing around it, and I think it's cheeky, and um, this is a good example. Actually, I'm looking at the playlist on Spotify. All of the songs, actually, hang on, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. 8 songs out of 12 have an explicit version. And of
Oh, love
course,
an explicit version.
and this one is, she talks about you got brave on coke. And so
Yep.
there's all these references around drugs. And I mean, I like this song. And when I heard it, I did think of you talking about Mariah Carey and Obsessed and then our Feuds episode. But then I
All
thought, is
right.
there an irony? Someone saying, it's really cute that you're so obsessed with me that you keep talking about me. Yet this person who is saying this has actually written a song. So
Right.
are you doing exactly what the other person did?
Well, knowing very little about the feud between these two, which seemed to have stemmed from Charlie being unhappy with Taylor's audience when she was opening for her as an opening act. I think there's some of that going on. But I'm like, how out of touch do you need to be if you're opening for Taylor Swift, not knowing what kind of audience she has?
That's right. She made a comment about I'm playing to 15-year-olds or something like that. I'm playing to
That's
a
right.
stadium of kids
Well,
because
yeah.
people were like, well, yeah. And also,
Hello.
hello. Uh, and but it did make me laugh because I thought this whole song is about someone else writing a song and being obsessed. Yet
Yes.
Taylor has written a song about the person being obsessed. So is she obsessed
Uh-huh.
with it? Anyway, of course, we're not saying it is about the feud with Charlie XCX. We're just saying that is some of the theories. Wish list. So this is what's one line? You want the baby face, but the big bum, and it's like
Yeah.
all this kind of wish listing in life.
I like the wish listing in life aspect of it. What is interesting about this song is that Taylor lists a whole bunch of things that people want, um, that people want. And at the end, she says, this is the one I'm the least on board with
Yes,
because she
yes,
lists all these things that she either already has
yes,
or would just need to, snap
yeah,
her fingers and would get if she wanted them. Yet she says,
yes,
all I want is you or some like of that effect.
yes, yep.
So it's cute, but I think it's a bit out of touch with the reality of Taylor
Fair
Swift's
enough,
life.
fair enough. Wood. Now,
Oh,
so
I,
so
yep,
let's just set the scene for those who haven't listened to Wood. The family rated version is it's about superstitions.
yep,
And so that whole thing of knock on wood. And so that's the clean version. Of course,
that's
the
right.
X-rated version is that it talks about her fiance's
An
man.
erect penis.
Correct. Well, I was going to say her fiance's manhood. And there's a line in there that it's gone to new heights of manhood. Of course, New Heights being the podcast of Travis and Jason Kelsey. I mean, there was a very funny episode of New Heights where Jason Kelsey is asking Travis how he feels. And Travis,
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean. It's about superstition. And Jason's like, come on. And he
Which
jokes,
is exactly Taylor's expression when she talks about that
correct.
song in the film event, in the theater
Exactly.
event,
It's a bit wink,
is, I
wink.
mean, it says it all.
It says it all. It's very funny. Jason Kelsey goes on to say, you must be, because there's a line in there about being cocky. And so Jason says, you must be cocky. He said, if the song was about me, I'd be described as a Japanese maple tree. It's quite funny. So, yes, your thought, you like the song?
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
the song.
That was
It's
one of
not
my,
my it's not my favorite song as a piece of music, but
no,
I like it for what it is, which is a
it,
tongue-in-cheek kind of
that's right.
double entendre song.
Exactly. And that's one that I loved at the listening party. Like that was kind of my
Hmm.
favorite song.
You
It's
messaged me about the
yes,
last lyric of the song.
yes. And it
Yeah.
shifted, and we won't people can go and listen to it for themselves to hear the last lyric, but it's shifted down only because it hasn't shifted down, others have shifted up. Um, and I think this is a really interesting one because, people are not quite coping that she has written some of these lyrics and it is such a cheeky song. Taylor
Hmm.
is 35, I think.
I know.
She's a woman. She's allowed
Yep.
to write these kind of lyrics. There's this whole,
Yes.
oh, it's almost like, and I think this comes back to the whole album. Oh, our baby's grown up and she's happy and she's about to get married.
Yeah.
She's not 20. And I was trying to find a song to put over something on Instagram the other day, and I was looking up a song by The Weekend. And I always check the lyrics before I put them over a clip on Instagram in case, they don't align.
Uh-oh.
Correct. And there was a couple of lyrics in The Weekend song that I didn't realize were so uh-oh, and so I couldn't use it. And I thought there's so many lyrics about things that don't get the commentary that this one has. But I think good on her. She's a happy woman and own it, like just
There was when
I think
Madonna
people are not coping that she's a mature, independent woman and happy. Yes.
when Madonna was 35, she toured the girl. So it was the year of the Girly Show, her world
Mm.
tour, which was
Hmm.
her first one that actually came to Australia.
Yes.
And there was an article in Smash Hits, the very famous British pop magazine, in which they called her grandma,
Yeah. I mean,
you know.
oh,
So yeah.
but it was a different time
Oh,
because
it was a different
I'm
time.
older than Steve Martin's character in Father of the Bride. I'm older than Diane Keaton's character in that. I'm older than the Golden Girls when they recorded the Golden Girls. So,
Well, Rue McClanahan, not all of them.
no,
Come on.
correct. Rue McClanahan. But I'm
Rue
just saying,
McClanahan was 10 years younger than the other ones,
yes, but you know what I
roughly.
mean. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cancelled with an exclamation mark.
Love it. It's one of my
Yes,
favorite ones. I
same.
love
I really like.
I love it. I love the I told you I just want to put on my Gucci and have a whiskey
Yes.
sour and I like this um Yeah, no, I really like this one. And this is the one that kind of makes me want to go back to Reputation because to me it does have a Reputation vibe to it.
Yes. Oh, I think there's lots of references of this album has lots of Reputation vibes, and it's kind
Self-referencing.
of this next reincarnation or, next
Yep.
evolution of Reputation. I think the thing, just while we're on cancelled, that I found really interesting, and once again, this is because Taylor has created this kind of atmosphere and community and, Easter eggs, is that when she announced the album and the song list, we all
Yeah.
jumped to the conclusion that Ruin the Friendship was going to be about Blake Lively. Now,
Yeah.
very strategically, Jason and Travis Kelce mentioned their I don't know if they said good, but they said our friend Blake Lively on a recent podcast. And so there's lots of talk of, is that the way of just acknowledging, no, they're all fine?
Diffusing.
And there was a lot of talk that cancelled would be about Donald Trump because the title was written in caps. And because of all the flack that Donald Trump throws at Taylor and that Donald Trump
Yeah.
does his social truth or truth social, whatever his platform is, he always writes in capitals. So,
Yeah.
so I also like the way, and she knows she's doing this. She's setting us up to think certain things about the songs, and then they
Right.
come out and it's something completely different. I really love Cancelled as well. The next one is Honey, and the premise of this song is about those endearing words, and I sort of do in commas, that can be used in very passive aggressive ways, like,
Hmm.
"Oh, do you think that suits you, honey?" And so there's lyrics around how honey was used, when in the bathroom when your skirt didn't fit properly and someone made a comment.
Yeah, there
Then
was a good
what's
honey moment in the latest reunion of the Beverly Hills Housewives.
oh
When
yes,
Dorit tells Sutton that she's used to buying
oh,
people, and then Sutton goes, "Who do I buy, honey?"
yes,
Yeah,
yes, absolutely. And so she talks about those words that are actually toxic. But what happens when you finally have them said to you in an endearing way, and how the way these words are said and who they're said by can really change the tone. And so I
that's
think
right.
it's
But it
there's
also has to do with consent of what you allow people to say. I
correct.
mean,
Yes. Yep.
I'm not talking about the consent what you allow people to
No.
say to you is what people allow themselves to say to people.
Yes. Yes. I like that song. There's that one moves up and down my order depending on the listen.
Mm,
And then the
yeah.
final one, which is The Life of a Showgirl, featuring Sabrina Carpenter. And I will openly admit, this is my favorite song on the album.
Oh, is
I
it?
absolutely love it. And I feel like it's and I've read some great comments that I completely agree with. It's the end of the concert, it's the encore. I feel
Mm.
like I've had an experience when I get to that one. There's an emotion in this one I love. This is one that does not, I love Opalite, that's fun, but The Life of the Showgirl does not shift. That is absolutely my favorite.
I
And
agree with you. It's definitely up there for me too. I love the opening melody, and to me, it reminds me a little in a good way of Beyonce's Halo, the
mm,
beginning of Beyonce's Halo.
yes,
And it is such a soft song. And
yes,
I mean, I don't think anyone better than Sabrina Carpenter could have delivered this song. Her voice is
yep,
incredible. I love the conversation component of this song. It's just really, I absolutely loved Florida because of Florence of the
yes,
Mach and the Machine. She took that song out into orbit, where no one else could have taken it. So
yep,
I think Sabrina does to this song what Florence and the Machine did to Florida. And
yes,
yeah, definitely in my top three songs on this record.
yeah, yep. Well, there we go. And I was just,
Oh, you cannot just say, thank God we didn't do this for the Tortured Poets department, because we'd still
well,
have like 19 songs to go.
exactly. And I was just going to point out that The Life of a Showgirl is 12 songs, 41
Yeah.
minutes. The
Uh-huh.
Tortured Poets Department anthology is 31 songs and 2 hours and 2 minutes.
Okay, and I'm going to segue into our next segment by saying there are three times more iterations of the album than there are songs on it.
Perfect. So that is a good segue because I'm just conscious of time. But I look, I'll be open. I can do another half hour if you can.
I'll take I mean, I'm going to bed after this, so
Yeah,
however
and
long you
I'm
can.
going to my inbox to do some emails. But I'm not sure whether our listeners are up for another half hour. But you can pause it here. This might be a good point to pause and come back because we're moving into the next part of this, which is Taylor the media merchandise marketing maestro. And if there's nothing, well, if there's something we know about Taylor, it's that she likes merchandise and product and pushing things out. Let's touch on the first one, which is the marketing rollout. I think we'll finish with the merchandise. The marketing rollout. I mean, I have this vision of like a boardroom table with just 17 A3 landscape sheets lined up with the timeline of the rollout because and I mean, we just referenced that we've had the latest thing in the rollout, which is the documentary around the Eras tour. The rollout for this has been unbelievable. It feels like every day there has been an announcement, either of the release of something or an announcement that there's going to be a release of something.
I I'm telling you, it feels like this record was released 7 years ago because there's been so much happening. I am actually very surprised and at the same time quite happy that Taylor, when she didn't have to do it, chose to do a bunch of interviews, chose to go on a bunch of talk shows, did an international promotional tour, went to the UK, went on Graham Norton's, and then did a bunch of interviews in the United States as well because she does not have to. She's reached a
Yes.
point, but what I think it created was some kind of, as much as, I mean, as realistic as that is, some kind of relatability that we are terribly missing now from some stars such as Beyonce, who have
Uh,
completely removed themselves and have made themselves, have put their own selves on a pedestal where they're
yes.
not relatable anymore.
Absolutely. And look, Taylor's latest or one of her latest social media posts says, I remember releasing an album and selling 40,000 and I just couldn't believe that people were buying my album. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
so great. Look, she knows how to work her audience. But, the whole post is I'm just so grateful that you are buying the CDs, buying this. And I do, you can be a cynic about it, but I feel there is there's a level of authenticity there because I don't think you can fake it. The authenticity on every media interview she's done, you can't fake that. And even if you can fake that, there would be people coming out of the woodwork saying how she really is off camera. And you don't get any of
Right.
that. The stories are always so positive about her. But just on the media blitz, because I thought this was interesting. So I asked Perplexity, which is a research AI program I use quite a bit, asking about the level of media she did on this album compared to others. And this is referenced as a full-on media blitz. And
Mm-hmm.
so I thought it was interesting. They did a little sort of summary of the level of media she did for each album. So Taylor Swift 2006 was low. Obviously, she was her first album. Fearless 2008, moderate. Speak Now 2010, moderate. Red 2012, high. 1989, very high. Reputation, very low, but I also think that's around where she was in life when Reputation came out. Lover, high. Folklore, Evermore, very low. We were also, 2020, they were COVID baby albums. Fearless, Taylor's version, moderate. Red, Taylor's version, high. Midnight, so we're now into 2022, medium to high. Tortured Poets Department, medium. Now, she was also on her Eras tour, so she didn't have a lot of time. And then we'll come back to that in a minute. And then Life of a Showgirl, very high. So there's almost this pattern. She kind of it's not every album is high, medium.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at that, there is this kind of wave of moderate, medium, high, moderate, medium, high. So you
I
could,
think she just wanted to have fun with this one.
and
She
she's
just wanted to go where she wanted to go and do the talk
correct.
shows that she wanted to go to and have conversations with the people that she wanted to chat with.
Exactly. And, we should say that she talks about that coming towards the end of the Eras tour, she was exhausted and she was fighting being sick. She was fighting that, keeping the stamina going. And she
Yep.
said she needed something to spark her to life a little bit again. And so she wrote this album and she would fly to Sweden, when she had 3 days off tour. This is a girl who was on stage for like 3 hours and 40 minutes each night singing in high
Right.
heels. And so she'd fly to Sweden for 3 days, record it, which no one knew. Like it is just, I mean, she's a machine. But when you were talking about Beyonce, I thought I'd have a look up on that. She didn't do really anything for Renaissance and Cowboy Carter. And it said, aside from for Cowboy Carter and late stage Renaissance promotion, the only widely reported traditional media interview was the high profile GQ cover story in October 24.
Yeah, but
I was going to say, aside,
she was yeah, but I think it was more an analysis piece and it wasn't her being interviewed. It
oh,
was called the business of Mrs. Carter or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Says aside from the GQ interview, she gave a brief backstage interview to Entertainment Tonight, vomit, after her Grammy win in
Right.
2025 and a rare red carpet moment at the same time. No major broadcast or print interview tours were conducted. I mean, she is,
There was there was
yeah.
a front there was a piece in Ebony magazine, which we've spoken about on a
Mm-hmm.
previous episode. So she did a piece in Ebony magazine. The thing is, in Ebony magazine, the cover didn't give away what the article
Yeah,
was about, but it was about her line of hair care products
that's
that she
right.
was
Yes.
launching.
Yeah.
So not
Yeah.
about the music.
This also says that Beyonce explicitly stated her choice to limit media and focus on letting the music speak for itself. Now, I should
Yeah, whatever.
correct. I mean, I just want to preference that I'm getting this through Perplexity. So the difference with
Yes.
Perplexity and ChatGPT is this actually gives you the bibliography, the references. So this is not ChatGPT making stuff up. This is coming from articles.
But we analyze narratives and things like that, and I feel that it's so. I mean, I was watching the Grammys when she won. I love Cowboy Carter. I think it's a
Mm,
fantastic album. It's
mm.
grown on me so much. There's some of the songs on that record are some of my favorite Beyonce songs. And I'm talking about the deep cuts. I'm not talking about the singles.
Yes,
But watching the Grammys, the first person that stands up when she wins something is her bodyguard. All that. I mean, it sends out so many wrong signals. You
yes.
know, so it
Look,
just felt. It just feels. I mean, removed. She feels so removed now
correct.
that I just don't get it.
No, I don't get it either. And I think there's one thing about not wanting to show behind the curtain.
Yeah.
There's not obviously there's parts of Taylor's life we don't know, but there's not much mystique really to Taylor.
No.
She puts everything out on the line. I think you can still have mystique and do
Hmm.
interviews. And I think Mariah Carey is a perfect interview. Like Mariah Carey is
Mariah is so
I mean, God, I love that woman. She's so
the
funny. But
punchlines, the
she,
everything.
the way she sits in her interviews and she barely moves, and, she's like this caricature. But she
Mm.
has done a lot of interviews, including, I mean, she was on Alan Carr's podcast, which I thought was quite random. She was on What Happens Next
Watch
Live,
what
or
happens
whatever you.
live. And she loves Andy Cohen.
She loves
She
Andy
keeps
Cohen.
going back.
So
Mariah Carey is the best at dodging a question. She
she,
will
yes,
not lose her composure. She is the absolute best, and she will do it with humor and
but she's
amazing.
not letting us see behind the curtain. She's got this
No.
image. And Alan Carr's podcast is, I can't think what it's called. But it's filmed on a
I
couch, and Alan
yes,
Carr's chaotic and random. So there's
love him.
structure to it. Oh my gosh, you've got to watch him in just side note. The UK celebrity traitors. Oh
Oh yeah.
God, it is it's just watch it for him. But and she's on that and she can bounce back at him. But she's and I just think, yeah, I think well, look, Beyonce can say she wants to focus on the music. I think you can focus on the music and still do an interview. Like, give your fans something. And that is which might be a good segue into our next part, is, and I wrote a LinkedIn post on this, is the community that Taylor builds. Um, and I've got another podcast. I'm not cheating on you, but I do have another podcast where I talk about customer experience. And in the first episode, I interview the CEO of the World Experience Organization and talking about the experience economy. And I say,
That's right.
what makes a good experience as opposed to a bad one? And he said, I mean, obviously there's layers, but he said, ultimately, I think it's the audience, a good experience, the audience know their role in this. We know our
Yes.
role with Taylor. I mean,
Hmm.
know we've got to find we know she has a secret language to us. And
Yes.
we know what we've got to do when she makes an announcement. We know we've got to do when she puts a song out. I mean, there are 100 Easter eggs in the Fate of Ophelia film clip. I mean,
Yes.
there was this whole thing with the 12 orange doors. So this visual on Google, if you decoded the puzzle, then gave you 12 cities around the world, Melbourne of which was one of them. Then you had to find an orange door. The one in Melbourne was at Melbourne Central, and you scanned the QR code at that orange door, and it took you to an AI produced video on YouTube. But the fans love it because she builds this engagement. And I might
Mhm.
just read a little bit of my LinkedIn post without wanting to be indulgent, but I can't remember
Go for it.
otherwise, because I think this is not, I think too much. Um, this is the power of Taylor. She has a language with her audience. And actually, even on Graham Norton, she's talking about he gets one of the versions of the album out and it's the glittery one. And he's opening it up and there's show notes. And she says, oh, yes, there's poems in each one. And and then she stops herself and says, oh, no, they'll work it out. So I'll just read out a little bit of my post. I say, if you want to understand the power of events and experience, look at Taylor Swift. Beyond the fandom, there's something so fascinating about what Taylor gets, experiences and connections. Her music aside, it's her holistic marketing and engagement strategy that shows her real savviness. We're living in the experience economy. People are choosing doing over owning. I mean, that does contradict what we'll talk about with merchandise. But one
Yes.
study found that 83% of consumers would rather spend money on experiences than material goods. And it's not
Right.
just about spending, it's about meaning, shared, immersive, emotional experiences. Data shows that people are investing more in memories than in things. Say what you will about Tay-Tay, but, and the biggest cynics would have to agree, she not only understands strategy, engagement, and authenticity and building loyalty, she gives a masterclass in it. Her music might not be your thing. You might not understand the hype. You might not get the obsession of Swifties. But that's the point. She has built a powerful relationship with her fans. She's a marketing genius, and there is so much to admire and learn right here. And I talk about how she turns her audience into active participants in her world. She creates a
Mm.
secret language. Taylor doesn't just ask us to listen, she asks us to join in, to decode, to connect, to come together as a community, to collaborate and to celebrate. And she knows her fans lap it up. And I was looking at with the whole orange doors things, someone would do a post on Instagram. Okay, we found 3 of them. They're in Madrid, Barcelona, Melbourne. Someone would go, right, we've got one in the next city. And it was like everyone was running around.
What were those little creatures that you had to find in parks with your phone? Like they
Oh,
weren't real creatures.
oh,
I don't know what they were. It kind of feels
was
the
it
same
Tamagotchis?
way.
Not
Ta
Tamagotchis? No,
Tamagotchi is the little toy that you had to feed that you
I
had in your
know
pocket.
exactly. Yes,
I
yes.
don't remember what they're called. Well, we've forgotten about them. That's good.
Yeah, I never got into that. But you know your role. And then I love
Mm.
watching the Swifties collaborate, trying to decode the things. And there was a very funny reel by a Gen Xer saying, Taylor, you are going to make us live longer. You're giving us brain puzzles for our cognitive function. You're having us
Yeah.
dance, so you're getting our fitness up. Like, it was very funny. And she said, I'm exhausted. I'm
I
exhausted. But Taylor, that language to her fans, and I truly believe, to put her music aside, if she was a sneaker brand, if she was a politician, that marketing strategy would be just applauded far more than I think Taylor gets because we're listening to the music. But anyway, that's my say
I
on her marketing maestro.
and and we've spoken about this many times before. I have no room for that whatsoever. I have no
Yes.
bandwidth for all of that stuff, the games and everything. I have literally it's kind of like a full-time job. I mean, if people have the bandwidth for it, like go for it, knock yourselves
Yeah.
out, have fun, no judgment. But in the words of Regina Hall in Scary Movie, this is some shit up with which I will not put.
But that's the beauty. You don't have to. You can get as
No, I don't
involved
have
or as
to.
uninvolved
Yeah,
if
I'm
you
just
want.
gonna listen to my good old CDs and maybe buy a couple vinyls and that'll be the end of that story.
And that's a good segue to the next part where we talk about
That's right.
merchandise.
And I'm gonna get
Because
serious and I have
you
something
are.
serious to say about this.
Because on opening weekend, so the Friday, I went to the listening party. The Saturday, I was obsessed, obviously. I was in full on life of a showgirl. I'm sitting at my local bakery, and what pops up for limited time only until stock sell out, there's 4 versions of the CD, of which 10 of the songs would be exactly the same, but you would get 2 different songs. So there was acoustic, there was deluxe, there was from the attic, I can't remember what, from the dressing room. I bought 4 CDs. I don't own a CD player other than in my old car. So I'm going to have to sit in my car outside my house or just take friends with me to drive around the block. But I will have 4 CDs which have 40, I have 40 songs that are all the same, but I will have no, I'll have 8 songs that are different. But I bought into it and got completely obsessed. And
Yes.
then I had a friend say, oh, is it on Spotify? I said no. But if we know anything about our good friend Taylor, there'll be a special release on Spotify or Apple Music, whatever it is. And lo and
What do you
behold,
know?
there was a 24-hour special. And
Yes.
my friend tagged me on Facebook and said, oh, you said, you were right. Even for me, and I think she's amazing with her merchandise, and I love that we can now buy the orange cardigan and we can do the. Even for me, it's too much.
I have a real issue with this. So when we'd reached, I think, 27 different iterations of the album, and I actually went to ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT how much it would cost to buy all those 27 versions. And it came up to about 930 US dollars. So factor in the additional 10 that have been released since then. I think we're looking at about $1,000 US, not Australian. I find it absolutely insane, especially considering everything we're saying about carbon footprint and, mass production of everything. And I'm not saying that Taylor is worse than other people, but I think there's an issue with, I think that Taylor promotes, you know, um, kind of like a healthy approach to life's struggles and everything. And what I find really disconcerting is that she creates a need in her fans that should not exist. If you
Yes.
see all those formats that are coming out, you're going to want to buy them. Who
Yeah.
has $1,000 to
Yeah.
spend on all those iterations, plus the merch? And all the stuff that she dropped. I do love that Sequins Are Forever t-shirt dress that she released
Yep.
over the weekend. And that was sold out,
Yeah.
obviously. But I do need to say that, so this was a conversation in my household and my significant other. We had a bit of an argument about this because I place some of the blame on Taylor. Taylor makes her own marketing decisions.
Hmm.
No one comes to tell Taylor what she needs or
Hmm.
doesn't need to do.
Fully
So for
agree.
other artists, maybe the record companies will be pushing some things and formats, and we've seen that happen time and time again through history, and that's fine. And we're in the era of releasing multiple formats. But 37 for me is insane, specifically knowing the type of audience that Taylor has, that still has quite a lot of teenagers and younger, the demographic is younger. A lot of, I'm assuming still a lot of girls because you see
Hmm.
her fandom. That creates a need, and I feel that that need shouldn't exist. So the argument that I had with my partner was that I've been a fan of people my entire life. I've been a fan of Kylie's, I've been a fan of Madonna's, and I remember the frustration of when I was young of not being able to afford the limited edition CD that was coming out, or not being able to, source the Australian version of the Madonna
Yeah.
single that, everyone was talking about, or the British version.
Yes.
I wish I'd had a pen pal in Australia at that time. But so there's a need. And then I was like, we're talking about it's the same mechanisms as addiction and frustration. And my
Yes.
partner was putting the blame on the consumer. Well, the consumer should be able to control themselves. But I am a fan, and I know, and you know what happened? So we had a very heated argument about this. And he called one of his doctor friends who's an addiction specialist.
Oh,
Yes. So he
fantastic.
called his doctor friend who's in the he dropped him a message, and the doctor called
Yep.
back, and we're talking like hardcore addictions here.
Yes,
But
yes,
the concept was trying to figure out whether this tied in with some of those
yes.
mechanisms, and the doctor said absolutely yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you see those 37 formats and you are not equipped to deal with the frustration
Yep.
of not being able to afford some of them or all of them, then that triggers some of those same, some of the same mechanisms. So,
Yes.
and I'm just roughly kind of generalizing what the doctor said
No, no,
because,
no, absolutely.
but he
Sorry.
said if we're talking about teenagers, there's a responsibility on the parents to train the kids to manage their frustration. But I know for a fact that eh, having been somewhat frustrated when I was a teenager, not being able to buy the
Mm,
records and everything,
mm.
I've made up for that in the most
Yes.
ridiculous ways in my adult years of being able to afford the records that I wanted. And I've bought too many
Yeah.
formats of all the Kylie
Yes.
Minogues and Madonnas of the world. And I did buy those 4 CDs as well, but as an
Yep.
informed adult, able to afford them. And, will I regret it down the line? I don't care. But
Yeah.
that's a kind of pressure that I'm armed to deal with.
No, I look, I agree. I think it's too much. I think there are far too many versions. It's too much. And I think there's a couple of things to it. I think it's kind of, do you know, I found just as we're talking, it's an interesting juxtaposition, isn't it, of this very simple album, well, not very simple album, a beautifully produced 12 songs, 40-minute album,
Yeah.
but then the merchandising
Oh my
to it
God.
is out of this world. So there's a couple of things I wanted to bring up because when we're talking about versions of this album, we're not talking about re-releases and remixes. We're not talking about that kind of thing. We're talking about that, for a short time only buy these CDs and for 24 hours buy this. And it's
And
immediate.
the
Correct. The
countdown is
countdowns.
on the website.
That's right. And I'm just having a look. So Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon is one of the most reissued and remixed albums in history, spanning stereo, quadraphonic, SACD, Blu-ray, and multiple boxed sets. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking
No,
about different versions of exactly the same album, but it'll come on a pink sparkly vinyl. It'll come on an orange sparkly vinyl, or you might get two
different cover
songs.
art.
Correct. You might get two songs different on this CD, and it's that immediacy of that urgency that you get dragged in and go, well, I've got to buy it now because I really like, and that's what I had. I really liked one of the acoustic versions. I'm like, well, if I don't buy it now, I'm never going to be able to ever listen to this song in the history of the world. I've got to buy these CDs. I mean,
I
I
know.
bought a CD. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I bought a CD. It's been a long time. So that's what we're talking about, that you are not, apart from the acoustic, it's just this supply and demand and this, yeah, as you say, it's this psychology of, and they know exactly
Hmm.
what they're doing, and it's no different to, the psychology around social media and this, getting addicted to things. And
And
I do think it's enough. Like,
there will never be
stop.
any kind of I mean, all the regulations that have happened in terms of what people have to face to not go into an addiction, the regulations have happened from the outside. No government is ever gonna come to Taylor Swift to say, that's it, you're harming the
No,
people. You
correct,
need to
correct.
release fewer formats.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
tobacco industry, the alcohol industry, the gambling industry,
yep,
absolutely.
yeah,
Governments have
yeah.
imposed,
The
obligations on these
regulations,
people.
yeah. And
Yeah,
actually, I was like, when the announcement came out that she was going to make an announcement on Good Morning America or whatever it was, I had no mental bandwidth for that. I wasn't
I
waking up. I
understand.
wasn't going to check first thing. I was done. And it kind of reminded me, because I was watching The Amazing Race, the Australian celebrity editions on at the moment. And last night's episode was a predetermined non-elimination league. But the team who got there were exhausted and had obviously made peace that they were going to be eliminated. And then they said, no, you got to keep going. And they were like, oh my God. And then they have to rev themselves up. That's what I feel like every time there's another announcement with this album. Just let me listen to it. But I don't have to care about the announcements, but I feel obliged because she has built this loyalty with me. She's built this secret language. I've got to get on board, and I'm tired. I'm too tired. I have
Repeat
nothing
after
more.
me.
Just let me listen to this song, make a few more reels, and learn the choreography, obviously.
Again, this is some shit up with which I will not put.
Perfect. Okay. On that note, I'm just conscious of time, so I don't think we're going to perhaps get to this episode of the outside world's view of the album, but we've touched on it a
Mm,
little bit. But
yeah.
I wonder
I
if
love that
you,
we went deep into the marketing aspect this
correct,
time, which it's
yes.
not something that we did on the first time, like the first
No,
time we spoke
that's right.
about Taylor.
It was also interesting because I've seen commentary on her radio interviews. People felt she was just a bit of a clone of herself. But it's on
Oh,
Graham Norton, it's on Jimmy Fallon, it's on Seth Meyers, that the real Taylor, like, we see her giggly, we can't
yeah.
see her goofiness. And this is it. Like, people are saying, we don't know why you're surprised about some of the cheeky lyrics on this song, because she's always been cheeky and funny.
Mm-hmm.
And we're
Yeah.
getting, and she's so excited. She seems to be inviting the world to her wedding, and I'm very concerned. Like, she's invited Graham Norton, she's
It's going to be a
invited,
stadium event.
correct, Greg on BBC, because she says something about, I can't wait for you to meet Travis or see Travis at the wedding. And he's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm invited.
I-
On
It's
Graham Norton, she says, he says something about when the wedding will be. And she said, oh, you'll know. And he said, oh, it's going to be a big production. She said, no, I just mean you'll be invited. And I'm a
yes.
bit concerned that she's issuing these before she's made her guest list.
I never want to be invited to a wedding if I don't know one of the spouses. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I
I
find
know
it
people
very
who have that
awkward to
rule.
meet a friend's
Yes, yes,
spouse on the day
yes.
of their wedding.
Yeah, I know my partner's got a bit of a policy around that. Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
love
yeah,
policy.
yeah.
Is it some shit up with which he will not put?
I think there's a lot of shit with which he will not put up with. In fact, I shouldn't. He has not. So I shouldn't disclose things without his. I was going to
I
give
didn't
you.
want to take you there.
No, I was going to give you his thoughts on this album, but I won't.
Oh,
And
okay.
he's a Swiftie, but more. I mean, he loves her music, but it's more from an admiration of her as a musician,
Yeah.
as an
Yeah.
athlete, as a marketer, as a businesswoman,
Mm-hmm.
as an advocate for musicians. But I did say to him, okay, I'm popping it. You've got to watch the film clip for The Fate of Ophelia. And
Oh,
I
it's
put it on,
beautiful.
and and anyway, I put it on and I started dancing to it. I had not learnt the choreography, but I was giving it a good go.
Mm.
A couple of days later, we were having words around, errands and chores that we were doing or hadn't done. And he said, but you've got time to learn the choreography. And I've never been more complimented in my life that he thinks I actually had the choreography right.
Oh,
Um,
good.
but he enjoyed the film clip. And I mean, he
Oh,
admires
it
her
was
as a
worth,
woman, not just
but
as a musician.
that clip is meant to be seen in a movie theater. Like
Yes.
and it feels like it's like 7 minutes long because there's so
Oh,
much going on.
correct. The other thing
Yeah.
I like when in the watching of the making of that is, she's got um, Mandy Moore, the choreographer,
Yes.
who was on So You Think You Can Dance, but obviously has done a lot. Very well known for choreographer and did the choreography for the Eras tour. She's got, top cinematographers, top lighting people. The set production is out of this world. But
Yeah.
in watching the behind the scenes and the making of it, you can tell, regardless of what the opinions of these experts are, it's going to be Taylor's word that um,
Yeah.
she's got a very clear vision, very clear creative vision.
Mm.
And there's
Yeah.
even a comment about the lighting because one of the scenes in the film clip goes from her in the corridor of a hotel into the hotel room. And she says to the lighting guy, it looks great, but you need to bring the lighting in the room down because the lighting in a hotel room would be darker than in the corridor. Oh,
That's
I'm a
right.
bit, it depends on what you've left your light settings on, I guess. But,
I
she's
love,
very
I,
detailed.
l- yeah, and I love that she asked permission for her loaf of bread that she had baked to be featured in the video. Who's gonna say no to that?
And also her funniness around being the stage mum for the loaf of sourdough because it was going to be in the film clip. I thought that was very
Mm-hmm.
cute. Um,
Love a good
but can
sourdough.
I just, and I haven't asked for your permission about this, but we were leaving some voice notes for each other the other day around her talking in the media. And is there any other woman who has been like this in history?
Go for it. Of
So
course.
you were talking about all the media she's doing, and we talked about, like she is doing a full on blitz. She doesn't need to do this blitz, but boy, is she throwing everything at it and seems to have fun doing it. And we're having fun watching and all of that. And you were saying, she really, and also she's a very polished performer on, in these interviews, like on Graham Norton, she's sitting next to Cillian Murphy. They talk about meeting at a party. She said, oh, I chatted to your sons. They're delightful. They were interesting but interested. And, she knows how to play the game. And
Mm-hmm.
when she's on Jimmy Fallon and they're playing Wood, when it gets to the lyric, the explicit lyric, she turns away and kind of shields her face and has a giggle and then comes back. She's the professional. And you said, wow, she's in a league of her own. I can't think of anyone else who is in that league or who has been in that league. And as I was listening, I thought Princess Diana, and then
Oh.
you said Cleopatra. But it's
Mm-hmm.
funny that we were like, because it's the holistic thing with Taylor. It's not just the
Yeah.
music, it's the poise, the legend
Well,
of Taylor,
but if you
all of
think
it.
about it, Cleopatra was one of the original showgirls. If
Oh, I love it.
anything that we know about her
Yes.
of the staging of her persona, if anything we know about her as history with,
Yes.
capital H is
Yep.
true,
Mm.
then Cleopatra could be considered as one of the
Abs-
original showgirls.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Hmm.
think Princess Diana could be. I mean,
And
I
Elizabeth
think I
Taylor
could put
played Cleopatra.
I think we could put the Life of the Showgirl song over clips of Diana. I mean, there's a lot of clips of Britney Spears that's been put over at the moment, but I
Can I
think
mention one clip that I saw on the internet of Life of a
yes,
Showgirl? My favorite
yes,
one.
yes,
Yes. So it's Summer Heights High, that TV show, and Mr. G. And then Mr. G storms out of the dean's office. And
yes.
then the moment that the song says, "Thank you for the lovely bouquet," he just grabs a bouquet from his little locker and just storms out of the room in full on Mr. G fashion.
That's amazing.
Who came up with that
Who
idea?
came up with that? She's a
It's
genius.
yours. It's yours, Georgie. Absolutely loved. I
Well,
wasn't sure where that was going until I saw him grab the bouquet. It's just absolutely amazing.
so I will need to give credit to my sister for that
Oh,
because even though she's very anti-Swifty, the first reel I made was the end of the Breakfast Club movie with Molly Ringwald, Judd Nelson, Emilio Estevez,
also a good one.
Ali Sheedy, all of that, where they're leaving the school at the end of their Saturday detention. And they're tired, they're happy. They give a nod to the janitor who is standing in the corridor mopping, and it's kind of that an end scene. And I think that's what I feel like with the Showgirl, the life of the Showgirl song, is it's kind of an end scene. So I'd put it over that, and I sent it to my colleagues, and I said that moment where as event managers we leave the venue at the end of an event because we're feeling every kind of emotion. And Melanie said, "Oh, it's like with Mr. G storming out, sort of thing." Or something like that. We were having a laugh, and then I think she made a reference to, storming out every time we have to listen to Taylor Swift in the office. Anyway, but it gave me the idea, and I found the clip, and I'm glad you appreciate it because it took me.
Love it.
I paid a lot of attention to line up the lyrics of Bouquet with him getting it
Perfect.
out of the lockup.
Perfect.
Yes,
I
we
mean,
might post this reel on
yes,
our
please.
on the Drop It Like It's Pop social media. So if you haven't seen
I
it,
am down
you
with
can
that.
go to it. Well,
Yes.
that's almost taken us to 2 hours. So unlike the life of a showgirl, we are almost getting to the length of the Tortured Poets department.
All including the acoustic versions at the end.
Yes, exactly. You'll be able to get this podcast in 74 versions. So thank you.
Thank you.
I
This
shall
was fun.
go and put on The Life of a Showgirl and look at some emails now.
And I will do the same.
And I do recommend, even if you're the most anti-Swifty, that's okay. You don't have to like Taylor. You don't have to like the movement. You don't have to like the hype. But just put on the album and listen to it a few times because it is fun. It is a bop. It's very luxurious in its sound. And it's just
It's
have a good
it
time.
it's what the world needs right now.
It is what the
We
world. It's
need
like when the
some.
Oasis the reunion concert first started, and everyone was coming together. And I'm going to the one in Melbourne, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yes,
And everyone said this is what the world needs now. But I feel that this is the same with the album. Is that it's just fun. Just listen to it and dance your little heart out.
that's right.
Until next time. Until the next version.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye. This has been Drop It Like It's Pop.
Be sure to follow us on our Instagram page at Drop Like It's Pop to have access to our latest episodes and playlists.
Until next time.